the NBA, the ratings are going down, I guess, a
Mm-hmm.
lot. So
I heard 53%.
yeah,
That was the number
it's
that I
quite a decline. And
What
so
are
the reasons,
right.
So I thought we could just kind of go over some of the reasons they're talking about and see if any of them really make sense.
Yeah.
And
do you think there is a lack of rivalries? Like how we've had traditional rivalries, Bird, Magic,
Yeah.
And recently I would say Curry, LeBron.
Yeah.
That's
a good transition to go to the next reason.
Okay.
So going with that, another big reason I've heard about is, just like you said, the rivalries, which kind of leads into this. Players are moving from team to team so often now that's causing, players are moving so much, it's causing a lack of like team identity in some ways.
Are you saying like the fan support kind of wanes?
Yeah, because when back in the 80s, when you had Magic and you had Bird, you had Jordan even, you had all these players like Isaiah Thomas or, all these players, they stayed on their teams forever.
Yeah.
Like Jordan eventually, played for the Wizards the last 2 years, but that was only because of he was part owner or something. But
he retired for a couple of years.
But you've got Magic played only on the Lakers.
Yeah.
Bird was only playing for the Celtics. All these players for I don't know how many years played, and just teams could identify with that player.
So it sounds like free agency may be another issue.
Yeah. So like, for instance, LeBron.
Yeah.
He Cleveland, then he jumped to Miami, went back to Cleveland. Now he's in LA. Kevin Durant is probably the biggest example.
Right.
Just jumping from team to team.
Right.
Trying to find a team that's going to make the playoffs and make a run. Not really saying, okay, I'm going to stay with this team.
Yeah.
I'm going to help promote this team. And so a lot of people are saying that hurts the NBA, the ratings. What do you think about that?
I mean, that's certainly possible.
And that also, loses its potential for rivalries too, right?
Right. What's interesting is that, like, it seemed like back in the 80s, a lot of these guys hated each other, right?
Oh yeah.
There's not the same level of animosity among these players.
I think to this day, Larry Bird still hates Bill Laimbeer.
Well, he's pretty hateable. I mean,
not that anyone would like
Laimbeer. He tried to
even
injure
after
people,
so many years.
Yeah, he tried to injure people. That's the problem.
That's true.
So it's like when you're that kind of a dirty piece of shit,
yeah,
it's like you deserve that animosity. Whereas like these guys, they're all making so much money, right? With their massive guaranteed contracts, and it's like and they all chum around during the off season and stuff. So
that's the big thing.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of.
And so they talk in the off season like, oh, maybe we should play together.
Yeah,
maybe we shouldn't.
Yeah.
And so that now you don't have that kind of like I remember when the Bulls and the Pistons played. Dude. And man, you could see the Bulls were, Jordan was like, I am going at these guys because they're out to physically kill me.
Yeah.
Or even when he played against the Knicks. Remember that? Like the Bulls against the Knicks? That was a pretty much outright war. Like I remember Pippen dunking over Ewing and then throwing him down.
That's one of the best dunk stare downs of all time. Yeah. He's just like looking at him. He steps over him. Just totally disrespecting Ewing. That was awesome. But okay, so I agree. I think there is a certain component of like players moving too much around where they don't build that fan base long enough.
Right.
But at the same time, something, you gotta maximize your money making years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't blame these guys at all.
Right. I don't blame those players. I mean, the way they should have the freedom, more or less, as players in to kind of like seek out whatever the best deal they can get.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think that's the way. But however, that's the way these contracts and everything are set up now.
Yeah.
And I think teams, though, you know, and the NBA are kind of hurting because of that too, though.
Yeah. I
mean, I don't see the type of rivalries I did back in the 80s and
no.
like how they went at each other so hard in the playoffs. I don't really, it's hard for me to see, like, maybe there might be something, a couple of these, like maybe the Timberwolves Nuggets, maybe a little bit. But that wasn't even when you look back and look at the Pistons, Celtics, or the Bulls, Pistons, or Celtics, Lakers, pales in comparison.
Okay, it sounds like the biggest culprit for NBA fandom or NBA viewership going down sounds like the boring style of play overall in the league. Like a more, like everyone's doing the same thing, right?
I think for the average fan, I think that's probably that. I think that might be the big part of it. I think like you said, like the Cavaliers, they have a unique style in some ways. They're passing the ball, and there's a lot of, if you really study the games, there's a lot of different ways they're actually different offensive sets they're doing to actually free up people. But they are all taking threes though. So you mentioned Cleveland. I mentioned Golden State. Their off the ball movement. They're just running side to side, like different routes and stuff to free other people and to open up space. There's another like Memphis Grizzlies. They do certain like kind of positional basketball where if one guy goes in, another guy goes out. I mean, they kind of like, it's almost like positional play in soccer. Like there's like, I don't know, like Pep Guardiola, he's in Man City, used to be Barcelona, where he cuts the actual soccer field in zones. And he's saying no two players can be within this lane and this width area. Like if one person goes here, another player must go over here. It's the same kind of concept with Memphis. And then, you also have, like with Dallas, different pick and roll schemes. And I think a lot of other teams, though, do a lot of pick and roll, though. So there is some interesting stuff. But I think the thing is, like, the NBA has casual fans for the most part. It's not just a sports league. It's kind of an sports entertainment league. That's the way I see it. And games, the regular season games are not really that competitive and I don't think it's just because of the 3-point shooting. I think it's because there's 82 games in a frickin' season.
I think that is definitely a problem.
And now a lot of people are sitting out certain stars to kind of adjust, right? I mean, back in the 90s, Jordan used to sit out maybe the last 2 games.
Tops.
Because once they clinched the playoffs and everything, they're like, oh, he suddenly has a little injury. He's going to sit out the last 2 games. But now you got like, okay, every 5th game, LeBron is sitting out or something like that, or his minutes are going to be down to this much.
I think it's called load management.
They call it load management. And I think the way it's structured when you go watch the games, the tickets cost so much. And so you've got these people who can afford tickets, and these people are people that aren't necessarily the biggest fans. They're just there to sit and enjoy the game, maybe bring a date, show how much money they have, sit courtside, show their face on TV. Let's see if we can get on the kiss cam,
I think one way to do it is like, how like college football games has like a student section that are like cheap seats? Let's apportion out one section like near the court, right? Where it's just like true fan section, right? And you do a lottery for those tickets. Right? and you say, okay, we're gonna cap off these prices at a sort of acceptable number, right? And then you're gonna have all these fans who are gonna show up every game.
Sure,
that, right?
absolutely,
and you're gonna have a seriously raucous crowd. There. And I think you start building more commitment if the ownership were to dedicate, hey, we acknowledge this is expensive. We want every fan of all economic areas to be able to attend. Right. At least some. And I think that would do something. Just to be like, okay, we realize this is out of reach for a lot of people.
I mean, here's one thing I saw once. Okay, I think I saw it on a video clip. There was a ball that was stuck on the top. Okay, and they were like trying to get it down. No one could get it down. There was one player who just jumped and took it out. So he put his hand above the top of the backboard. And the crowd, everyone was just, what's can I have some popcorn? It's like no one cared. No one cared. Like no one really cared about these things. It's like no one's really into the games that much when they're in the crowd. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen like Euro games in Eastern Europe, especially.
Right.
Some of the games I saw, like just video clips of, like the intensity of the fans is off the charts. There's nothing like that in an NBA game. It just puts the NBA to shame. But you've got the whole crowd jumping flat. There's like fireworks. There's like smoke.
And the huge amounts of racist
that too.
verbal racism being thrown at
people throwing bananas at the black players. No, but yeah, I mean, you can see like the intensity. The fans are really into it.
Yeah.
And so I think that is definitely missing when people watch the games.
Definitely.
I think
they had that a lot more back in the 90s.
Right.
People aren't as dedicated to their team.
Right.
Really. And I think it's kind of become there is a sort of a missing, I don't know, like heart factor with the fans now with the NBA teams, because I think it is sort of inaccessible in a lot of ways.
It is inaccessible. I mean, you check out the prices for some of these tickets, and I mean, the only tickets, like, you have to be lucky maybe to work for a company.
Yeah, you get free
seats.
You
get seats maybe from them.
Yeah.
Other than that, you've got people sitting in the premium skybox. Oh, they're just eating, drinking, and maybe the game's going on. They're not even looking at the game.
Yeah, that's true.
And then courtside is like, what, $5,000 or something?
That's crazy.
I mean, they're just there to impress people, more or less. Or, just, I mean, so the average casual fan is kind of like phased out of that.
I can guarantee you that if I think the NBA just signed a new TV agreement, right? Which, some ridiculous number of billions of dollars a year. Once the networks that paid for that find that the return on investment on that is going down the shitter, some things will change. Probably in about 4 or 5 years. I can guarantee.
So what do you think should change about the NBA to help kind of make it a better product so that ratings go up?
Well, I think better fan engagement. I think you do make it more accessible to like the casual or people who would love to go to a game but can't afford it.
Right.
I think that's important. And stuff like because the price of things just makes it just almost impossible for like 90% of the city's population.
Right.
Right. But the excitement of the game itself, what could you do? Like, how do you make the basic structure of the 3-pointer less dominant?
I don't know. I mean, I've heard of some interesting takes on that. I mean, right now they're saying the 3-pointer is worth too much. Some people
really?
Like, so make it 2.5 points, or make, that would just change everything.
Yeah.
You can't really do that.
Yeah.
There was one weird. I mean, any idea about trying to phase out 3-pointers, or not keeping it, but like trying to make it so that people are less encouraged to shoot threes? It's going to be tough.
I think what the coaches need to do, or the strategists need to do, is you gotta just guard the 3-pointer better. So you make it harder so that you're more inclined to shoot more. You have a more diverse offensive set than just 3-pointers. So it's like once the defense catches up,
right,
you're going to have to change your offensive game.
Yeah,
I think.
I mean, I could. Yeah, I think there are different people are trying to work with different defensive schemes, but I think it's just tough in basketball though, because that offensively, it's almost impossible to defend every spot. Like if you work the ball enough, you're gonna get an open three many times.
Yeah, that's true.
Or even at least a halfway contested three at least. They talked about maybe making the 3-point line farther back, and maybe on the sidelines, the side threes, just doing away with the side threes.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
so the closer ones.
That was one suggestion. They talked about saying, okay, you can. I can't remember exactly. Like a coach can choose a quarter or something to say, okay, this is my quarter. Every outside of this quarter, all threes are actually just worth 2. But now I can choose this quarter to say this is where I choose to shoot threes and make it 3. Like the 3-pointers will be worth 3, something like that.
That makes it
based on time or something.
See, that makes it so like artificial though.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways, right? Like you're forcing these conditions upon this game, which should be sort of naturally free flowing.
Right.
I think that would cause a lot of like havoc.
Yeah,
but
I guess in my mind, the only thing that may work is to extend the 3-point line a little bit.
And you guys got guys like
and see what happens. But
like Steph Curry just shooting from the
they're shooting essentially from the logo mark a lot of times.
Yeah,
I don't know how much. Maybe that the percentages though will go down though for sure. I think
definitely.
Because I guess that maybe
the corner threes are the closest.
But I think the games need to be more intense generally during regular season. I think. I don't know if 82 games a year is
They're not going
to
change that because of TV. That's
They probably won't, because also it's just been that way.
Yeah.
But I think there needs to be something done so that teams, like each game is worth going hard and winning. That's the thing.
I say you incentivize each win.
Yeah.
So every time you win, each team gets a bigger chunk of the TV payout,
right?
So that, and then that a portion of that goes to your players, right? So that incentivizes players to just win every game, right? And not just like to get into playoffs and stuff,
right?
So that money always talks.
That's a good idea. I think that might help a lot.
Because think about it, if you're like a scrub, let's say you get in like 10 minutes a game or something, right? And then you're like, oh, you're making league minimum. Yeah. Then suddenly you say, oh, I can increase my salary by double if we win a few more games.
Right. They're going to do whatever they can to win. Every player on the team is going to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they just got to be incentivized more to make each game very important somehow.
You're going to have a lot less load management right there.
Right.
Yeah. Because they tried to do that with the contracts, where if you don't play, I think 60-something games a year, you're not in contention to be
certain awards and stuff.
And that means that affects your contract.
Yeah, but that's only going to affect a certain number of people, right? No one's,
So you have to incentivize everybody. To play harder.
I think the team has to be incentivized to win.
Exactly.
And so, like you said, that might help if you win more share of the TV profits or something like that.
Yeah.
that may that could definitely help. I think you do away with the bottom teams getting draft picks. I don't know.
See, that's the problem is like most of those teams are like small markets anyway.
Yeah.
And then you're kind of like, they don't have the TV dollars that the big markets do.
Yeah.
And then you're like perpetually in that cellar. That's
I mean, yeah, I guess I have a whole idea about sports leagues in general, which maybe we'll save for another day.
Yeah.
How I think like
I know you're a fan of the La Liga and shit like that.
Yeah, I like the soccer, European soccer model of free market and stuff.
Right.
And I think, you know, it allows for each game to be so much more competitive, I think.
All right. Lots to think about.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyways, well, I'll still watch the NBA.
Go Cavs.